Hello and welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is Friday, May 8th, 2026. As always, I've got a lot of news for you today. Taking a quick look at the charts, things are going green again, but not really aggressively. We are down yesterday quite a bit, and we're just kind of sitting here at the bottom, a little bit green, but nothing significant. So let's move on to some of the tweets. So the first one I'm going to show with you is Protocol FX, one of the trustless stablecoins. They dropped this meme-ish tweet here that I thought was pretty funny and cool. So if you don't know, on Protocol FX, you can borrow stablecoins and pay 0% interest. So you don't have to pay any interest on your borrow. You just have to pay an upfront fee. And then when you want to close your position, you need to pay a down fee as well. I can't remember the exact percentages, but basically versus ETH or BTC on mainnet, you can just borrow stablecoins forever and never have to pay again. Okay, so check that out. You can check out this tweet. It kind of gets into the details and stuff like that and a little more details, but I think it's a nice, cool clickbait meme. And anyhow, let's move on. So Aave has tweeted out that the Mantle DAO has passed their proposal to send their share of the ETH to the ETH DeFi United Recovery Fund, and that's great. So 100% for, 0% against, 0% abstain. That's fantastic. Now we just need Arbitrum to pass theirs as well. I should probably check to see if it is done or not, but I don't have it ready, so I'm not going to go digging while I'm talking. Moving on, Frax Finance has retweeted Parallel. So it says right here, let me just read it. It says, our track record for security extends beyond Frax itself. We're proud to support our ecosystem partners with rapid incident response and technical expertise when needed, available 24/7 when situations arise. So basically, Frax somehow helped out Parallel to avoid an exploit. So it says, earlier today, we detected an attempted exploit against Parallel. And the Hyper Labs, whatever this is, Hyper Native Labs live monitoring triggered in time, and the contracts were paused. So fantastic. And then, of course, they had like a post-mortem or a war room and try to figure out exactly what happened and whether or not they can unpause and so forth. So that's fantastic. I like to see Frax Finance and all of the OG teams. They really have this kind of ethos where it's not about just them winning. It's about everyone in DeFi winning to the most extent. Of course, there are scammers and grifts and all these people that we don't want winning, right? Which tend to sometimes win, but like Frax and Yearn and all of these Curve Finance, all these OGs, they like to help out and try to make sure the ecosystem is great. And yeah, so you see that all over the place. You see that in security, and you see that also like in this kind of thing where the DeFi United, there are people donating ETH to this even though they're not exposed, even though the competition is exposed to this and they're helping their competition. So that's one of the things I love about DeFi and so forth. Moving on, so ETH-Strategy drops this one tweet, and it says, pretty simple, ETH-Strategy knows there is only one mainnet. Whenever someone does say mainnet, everyone immediately understands that means Ethereum layer 1. But it's a good segue into this next tweet. It's from L2Beat. And L2Beat is kind of warning that, the layer 2s aren't really pulling their weight a little bit. So let's kind of see what it says here. It says, there are currently only 4 chains with unconditional zero exit windows: Aztec, Faucet, ETHscriptions, and ZK Money version 1, Aztec version 1. So yeah, that's kind of sad. We want to see more of these exit windows to come into effect so that these conical bridges are safe, and these L2s, people who send money over to these L2s they have a route out in that case. Now, I did hear a lot about Base is trying to get to this stage as soon as possible. So I hope they do it, because they are like the biggest L2 or one of them, right? So I think they're the second biggest L2, but anyways, it's definitely the most degen or the most like user normie friendly and pleb friendly chain, L2 chain. So I really hope they do kind of go that route and get that done. Speaking of Ethereum and so forth, so we have Jasper the Friendly Ghost is tweeted out this, that exciting things happening happening on Rocket Pool World. Triggered exits will be the most primitive in Rocket RETH and Rocket Pool history. Done right, done decentralized. Now, I'm not a big understander of this, but basically what I can take from this, what I understand is that like Ethereum like allows communication between the execution layer and the consensus layer. So Rocket Pool can trigger exits from their smart contracts sooner, which reduces losses from underperforming operators. So this reduced risk to losses enables pools with smaller collateral for the node operator. So I'm not sure if that makes sense to you or if it kind of makes sense to anyone, but it's you know, it's great that they're doing this, that they're doing it in a decentralized manner, and they're improving the ability for people to spin up like smaller node operations and use Rocket Pool for collateral for your entire 32 ETH that you need, and so forth. I can't remember what Rocket Pool. I think you need 8 in order to spin up 8 ETH to spin up a Rocket Pool node, and so forth. Okay. So this is not something I really want to get into, really, but I thought I would share it. The Department of War has dropped a whole bunch of like just files on UFOs and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to be all over Twitter no matter where you go. So I thought I would just kind of mention it and say, you know, that they've leaked this. Now, I do kind of think this is like smoke and mirrors, just a kind of like, let's just drop this on the people so they can stop looking at other stuff and start looking at this. So a little bit of misdirection, I think. Moving on. So Edgy's kind of got this long post here, and I pulled out a specific tweet here, a specific part of his thread, where it says still exposed. So Bantag drops findings yesterday that should have everyone checking their bridge exposure. 554 receiver token configurations on Layer 0 still running on the same one-to-one that KelpDAO got drained. So that's $170 million or $180 million of user funds that are still in the exact same risk factor that KelpDAO got exploited at. So maybe you should go and check this Geist here. I'll link to this link in my tweet, and you can go and check it out. See if you're exposed to any of these. So here I retweeted Liquidity. So Liquidity posted this like borrow rates for RETH, WST ETH, and ETH, and I saw that like they were like, hey, you know, like 0.5% you can pay for RETH, and then I went to the front end, and it's like, as you can see, it's 5% is the average rate. So if you delegate, you're going to pay around 5%, right? And I tried to understand this, and I've forgotten all about this, but basically there's liquidation or redemption protection on stability pools when the stability pool has more BOLD deposited in it than collateral, then there is debt versus that collateral. So if you compare the amount of debt here to the amount of BOLD in the stability pool, then you will see that like there's more BOLD in the stability pool than debt. So this collateral cannot be redeemed against. So you could set your interest rate to 0.5%. But you have to monitor it, of course. Every day you have to check it and make sure that that it doesn't go above, or this debt doesn't go above the amount in the stability pool, or protocols don't pull out of the stability pool and move their bolts to another stability pool, right? So it definitely requires monitoring and watching, but it is an opportunity that is pretty good. So that's super low interest rate to borrow BOLD stablecoins, right? Okay, so here we have JFab has shown that like there are significant amounts of projects. So here we have KelpDAO, Solver Protocol, RE, and Trio headquarters. I don't know any of these except Kelp, But they've all decided to move from layer 0 to Chainlink TCP/IP. So instead of using layer 0 for their bridging solution, they're going to use Chainlink for their bridging solution. And this is kind of something that's happening around, and people are talking about this, and it is happening. But I don't see any of the major projects doing this. Like, for example, Frax doesn't do it, but Frax runs their own DVN as well as other DVN. They're using the layer 0 DVN and other DVNs. So, they've got a pretty big suite of tech. So, they run their own validators. They got their own layer 2. So I feel like Frax is in a kind of a different playing field than other protocols, a different league basically. So they can run their own layer 0 node and so forth. But anyhow, let's move on. So Banteg retweeted this. So he's like, spicy discussion in ETH security is now spilled over to X. It's pretty simple. Okay, Layer 0 Labs is using their production multisig. So their main multisig that is used to like sign things and basically like secure like all of their bridging transactions and stuff. They for some reason decided to use that exact multisig to trade some cheesy meme coin on Uniswap. I don't know what the deal is with this. I don't know why somebody would consider doing that. I have no idea like why, like what's going through the team's mind when they're like, hey, let's use our main multisig to trade this shit coin, this meme coin, this low float thing. I don't know what's going on there. Like, to me, it makes no sense. It makes literally no sense at all. Like, maybe the only possible reason I could think that they would want to do this is so that they could get news headlines, like bad publicity is good publicity type thing. People will be talking about them if they're doing this, or maybe it's a misdirection thing like that alien stuff, right? Oh, stop talking about what we were doing, with our DVN crap. Let's start talking about us trading meme coins. So I don't know. Those are the only two options I can think of. Maybe I'm thinking I'm missing something significant, but I find it to be wild and crazy. Last tweet of the day, Mega ETH has bought back and burned. So let's read what it says here. Using all net rewards accrued from USDM issuer up until the end of April. Current USD supply sits at 480 million. Yeah, so they bought back a whole bunch, and so we intend to future buybacks and to be programmatic on chain. So they're gonna try to get these buybacks to be a little bit more automated instead of lump summing and this kind of stuff. So, but anyways, that's great to see that they've completed their first buyback and so forth. So that's it for today. I hope this has been interesting and useful, and thank you for listening, and goodbye.